Story 1. Reading upside down or backwards from the wrong side of the paper and deciphering the crazy handwriting of others. I do it so quickly and automatically that I tend to read things I shouldn't before I even realize I'm doing it. So, around me, don't leave anything sensitive out, even if it's upside down and backwards or written in chicken scratch. If I can see it, I can read it. Story 2. Remembering things, but I am too dumb to make it work to my advantage. People at work always get me for some obscure nonsense that we did once 5 years ago, so we can do whatever it is that needs doing. Bro, I just want to be left alone. I am at work for the paycheck. Any actual work that I have to do is an unfortunate side effect. Story 3. I catch things that I drop before they hit the ground, mostly keys, like every single time. A few years ago, in front of the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, my friend suddenly dropped from heat exhaustion, and I grabbed his hand before his head hit the concrete. So my skill finally paid off. Story 4. Remembering song lyrics and absolutely useless facts about anything. Sadly, I cannot use this to my advantage because my talent is picky and will not work with actually important things. But hey, I can sing along with any song from my playlist from 10 years ago and tell you that sloths sometimes slow their metabolism down a little too much and just die. Story 5. I can imitate a baby's cry. I can make the exact noise an old kettle makes, which is really strange, and can also make the exact noise of a barking dog and a cat purring. I can do a perfect impression of Elmo, Mickey Mouse, and a Texan accent. I'm British with a very brummy voice. Story 6. I have brain damage. It's not unusual for my movement to be essentially locked into one kind of movement, and I have trouble processing more than one thing, especially audio. So, the distraction of noises won't exist if I focus on one thing. It's a slow game, but since it's rolling a ball and not a fine motor skill task, it means I'm quite good at it. Story 7. Noticing differences in people, I tend to scan them so the second they do something different or something appears on their bodies, I just know. Along with body language changes, I hold impeccable eye contact, which is apparently really weird to other people. But hey, I call out so many future high-risk patients at my job and urinary tract infections. Your urine didn't look like that a week ago. I'm gonna tell my boss your urine looks weird. It's too dark. I even identified brain cancer in one of my favorite elderly people at my facility. He had recurring pink eye. I didn't know he had brain cancer before. He was in remission, and I thought he just had dementia like the rest of my residents. He sadly died of it because it came back much stronger. But I just think it's crazy I identified that, especially since they didn't believe me. Fair enough, I'm a housekeeper, but I'm usually right about stuff. My urinary tract infection meter is almost never wrong. Hair gets brushed in the wrong direction. You had 4 cups of coffee instead of 3. Honestly, I think I have too many files on people in my life in my head. Story 8. Figuring out the twists and secrets of a movie far too early. For example, watching Get Out with my spouse. I called the plot within the first 10 minutes of the movie. The same thing with Nope and many others, but it really scares my spouse like I have magic powers. Story 9. I was a dental nurse for 7 years and I can spot unclean teeth and gums within seconds of seeing someone. I see tartar, plaque, coffee stains, smoking stains, hypermineralization, inflamed gums, and even just slightly red gums from not flossing every day. I know that this is very triggering for some people, so I never tell anyone except my husband. My close friend has gum disease because she basically has a phobia of brushing her teeth in dentists. It is very traumatic for her, and I feel terrible every time I notice the infection. Story 10. Cardinal directions. I rode out of a blizzard in the dark one night on horses when the others wanted to go the wrong way. Saved our lives. Then I locked the keys in the truck. Story 11. Guessing accents. I have no idea where the talent comes from, but I've guessed even some obscure accents from countries where I'd never heard someone speak before that moment. I've even occasionally accurately guessed the regions within countries that people are from, even though I know nothing about that country. I have never been wrong. It surprises people when I guess right. It goes something like, well, you sound kind of Russian, but it's not Russian. I imagine Ukrainians sounding a bit angrier. You must be Belarusian. Story 12. Running restaurants. I love it. Meeting new people in a vulnerable setting. I have done so much business over the years in other sectors just from meeting people going out to eat. Nothing better than a well-run, smooth restaurant. Staff barely talks. Story 13. Music. If I tried, I could have gone to a great music school and maybe even made it as a small artist. Life got in the way and I'm doing other things. Music is still a passion for me, just not enough of a commitment to spend countless hours trying to perfect it. I mostly do it for enjoyment now, which feels good. Story 14. This might be a bit not safe for work, but here goes. My college experience could basically be summed up as engaging in oral activities all day, every day. One thing I know for sure, my skills are unmatched. People kept coming back for more. Yes, I am a guy. Story 15. Throwing away hard work and self-sabotage. I will create a nice drawing, but then spill coffee on it. I will build myself up in a job, but then change jobs and have to start from scratch. I will make money with cryptocurrency, only to lose my private key. I will build up a Reddit account only to make one comment that goes against the flow and gets downvoted to oblivion, making the account useless. Story 16. Note-taking. I used to be terrible at it, but then I became extremely proficient. Almost nobody takes notes as effectively and well-organized for learning purposes as I do. I've had people offer me money for access to my notes. Story 17. I can take what I know in one field of life or science and apply it to another field. I can basically talk and be correct with some small caveats, not fully understanding the reasons, but still be generally correct in my assumptions. Story 18. I have been good at spelling ever since childhood. I can hear words that I've never seen on paper before, sound them out in my head, and 9 out of 10 times spell them right on the first try. Story 19. Reading people, I scare myself sometimes with how accurate my assumptions are down the line. I pretend I don't understand them at times, though, since I don't want to rob them of their inner work. Story 20. Pattern recognition in shows. My girlfriend can be watching an episode of a show, and in the first 10 minutes, I can usually tell how it's going to end. I don't even know how I know, or the specifics of pattern recognition. I'm just good at guessing it. Story 21. Lying. I had to at times to survive my upbringing. Honesty is something I take super seriously, partially because I feel grossed out by my ability to lie well. Story 22. I'm really good at managing our household finances. I have a spreadsheet set up for an entire year, broken down by month and then day. All of the formulas are calculated so that any additions or subtractions are automatically updated for the rest of the year. All expected finances are input into the budget by the first of the year, so there are no surprises or forgetting a certain bill, especially those pesky yearly or quarterly expenses. I overestimate what will be expected to owe by using our highest amount due. For instance, our electric and gas was $350 at its highest ever. In the summer, the bill is on the high end, usually around $300, but it's never gone over $350 again, so we know there's enough to cover when we get the reading. In the winter, it's not going to be $350, but you never know, so I leave it at the highest and just update it when the reading is done. In reality, we may only owe $150, so boom, $200 under budget. And we can either pay more towards another bill, put it in savings, or just leave it in the account. I love setting up my budgets for the new year and being able to see what we may be able to do financially in the upcoming year. This year, the goal was to pay off our car, and we did last night. Next year, there's some vet stuff to take care of, maybe some home maintenance, and just chipping away at our debt along the way. Story 23. Most things that are nothing. I prepared all my meals for the week once for work a few years back. An Instagram thing I saw. It was like chicken with peppers and rice. Fairly straightforward but colorful. I got a comment from a coworker about my fancy lunches. Translation. Why are you trying so hard? Where's your bologna sandwich and Cheetos? I need that from you to make me feel okay. My supervisor at my previous job would always comment, perfect, in response to everything I did, in that kind of sarcastic way that is trying to drop the passive-aggressive remark that I was being extra. Note, her hair was always greasy, so I would suppose my regular showers alone were impressive. At one of my first desk jobs out of school, dress was fairly casual, but I would kind of dress business casual. Once I showed up in flared jeans and a nice blue sweater. I still looked quite nice. Nice shoes. One of my coworkers commented, "You look normal today." To put down how I usually looked, I would have hated to break it to her, Neither look hardly took a lot of effort in the morning, just general self-care. It literally takes nothing at all to elicit this reaction much of my life, and it's interesting to deal with. Story 24. Somehow, when I wake up in the morning, I can predict the exact time within 1 to 2 minutes without looking at a clock, whether it's dark or light, like 6:30 a.m. or 9:30 a.m., for example. Maybe that's not that unusual, but it's weird. Story 25. Self-learning technical skills. Taught myself Fusion 360 in about 2 to 3 months. Taught myself how to weld, run a torch, and some machining. Just technical stuff in general. Story 26. Guessing the ending of a movie I have never watched. My husband and I have fun with it, especially if it is a movie that he has previously watched and I have not. I do not even know how to explain it, but I pay attention to every detail, and usually within the first 15 minutes or so, I can tell how the movie will end or what the big plot will be. Story 27. Mimicking animal noises to the point of people genuinely believing there is an animal indoors and multitasking in food service settings. The two often overlap. Catch me in a hot kitchen making chimpanzee noises at my boss or making a seagull call to tell people I'm coming up behind them. Story 28. Merchandising product. It's not really a life skill per se, but people are often in awe watching me. I can completely redo a section with no plan, just diving in and winging it, and stuff looks good for real. I get sent to a lot of other stores to fix them. Edit. I can also do a really good Stitch impersonation. Story 29. Finding things or really spotting differences or things where they don't belong. Once I found my friend's diamond wedding ring on an empty 100-car blacktop parking lot right after a rain. They were looking for hours. Took me about 5 minutes. Where is Waldo was a joke to me when I was a kid. Story 30. Remembering people's birthdays. For some reason, my brain likes to store that information specifically. I have a large family, 7 siblings, 23 nieces and nephews. I know all of their birthdays and my grandparents' and parents' birthdays and a lot of my aunts, uncles, and cousins' birthdays. I remember all my childhood friends' birthdays. In a few hours, it will be my dad's birthday. I wish my brain was as good at holding on to more useful information. Story 31. Apparently, shooting a gun. I am terrified of the things, but in an attempt to overcome my fears, I found target shooting with a .22 caliber addicting, rewarding, and fun. As for the unreasonably good part, a friend coached me 2 minutes before my first shots. My first 6 targets were all dimes, where 3 out of 5 bullets are within the diameter of a dime. Averaging about 150 rounds, I score solidly in the National Rifle Association's Distinguished Expert scoring. I can apparently shoot equally well left and right-handed. Story 32. A bit weird, but I'm really good at spotting a mistake in a pattern. Like those puzzles when you have a page of M's and one N. I can usually find it quickly. Comes in handy at work when I have to find the mistake in pages and pages of data. Story 33. If you tell me your birthday, I know it for life and remember it every year. Also, I know every lyric to every Taylor Swift song. Every single one. I'm not ashamed. Story 34. Picking up other people's feelings. I can even tell when someone's heart is racing, yet I can't hear or feel it. I just know. It's weird. It's like there's the out loud conversation I'm having with someone and the silent one I'm having with them at the same time. And it's not always good. Can be tiring too. Story 35. Drums. I was playing multiple fast punk songs within 1 week of getting my kit. 2 years into playing drums, I am nearly an expert and know hundreds of songs. Story 36. Recognizing people from obscure things. If I see a picture of the back of someone's head, I could confidently say who they were, like full name and all. I'm great at remembering names and faces. I even surprise people by knowing their name when they've talked to me maybe a total of twice and never been properly introduced. I can recognize you from your shoes, your hoodie, your necklace, your hairstyle especially, and it takes me about 0.2 seconds to memorize your hair again if you change it suddenly. I'm that guy that just weirds people out by knowing them and noticing things about their physical appearance and fashion that most people don't pay attention to. Story 37. I'm extremely good at reading cat body language. It's almost like I can speak their language. Every cat I've had, I've cracked the code to, and I love doing it. Wish I could be the cat whisperer, laughing out loud. Story 38. Ah, good. I did a search of the comments, and I'm the first to say Tupperware. I have an uncanny ability to look at the food or sauce or whatever leftovers in a pot and pick the perfect container. I have never misjudged. It's an odd skill. Story 39. I am really good at word searches. The words just stand out on the page to me. It's a weird talent, maybe skill to have. I wish it could result in more than winning a few random contests. Story 40. Remembering numbers. Everything from dates and phone numbers to long strings of numbers. It honestly is rather useless most times. More just convenient, especially with phone numbers. But there have been times it's been useful when needing to remember a ton of numbers all at once. But that has happened so few times in my life, it makes me wish I could trade that skill for something I would use more than 10 times in life.